Welcome to our deep dive into climate change, a topic that affects every corner of our planet. Today, we'll explore the latest facts, updates, and what they mean for our future. Climate change is not a distant threat. It's happening right now. From rising temperatures to extreme weather, its impacts are clear. Let's start with the basics. What is climate change? It's the long-term shift in Earth's weather patterns driven by human activity. Burning fossil fuels like coal, oil and gas releases greenhouse gases. These gases, like carbon dioxide and methane, trap heat in the atmosphere. This creates a warming effect. In 2024, global temperatures hit record highs. The average surface temperature was 1.28 degrees Celsius warmer. That's compared to the 20th century average. This made 2024 the hottest year ever recorded. Carbon dioxide levels are also at historic highs. In 2024, they reached 421.73 parts per million. That's 50% higher than pre-industrial levels. This rise in CO2 is driving the warming we see today. But it's not just about hotter days. Climate change fuels extreme weather events. Hurricanes, wildfires and floods are becoming more frequent and intense. In 2024, Hurricanes Helene and Milton struck the United States. Each caused damages estimated at $50 billion. Helene alone claimed over 200 lives. Scientists say warmer oceans made these storms more destructive. Warmer water fuels stronger winds and heavier rainfall. Wildfires are another growing threat. In 2024, wildfires ravaged parts of North and South Carolina. Dry conditions and downed trees from past storms fueled the flames. Climate change has doubled the area burned by wildfires in recent decades. By 2050, that area could increase by up to 6 times. Sea levels are rising too. Since 1880, global sea levels have risen 8 to 9 inches. The rate of rise is accelerating. Melting ice caps and expanding ocean water are to blame. By 2100, seas could rise another foot, or even 6 feet. This threatens coastal cities and ecosystems. In places like Washington, D.C., rising seas harm even cherry blossoms. Saltwater damages their roots, shifting bloom times. The Arctic is warming faster than anywhere else. In March 2025, Arctic sea ice hit a record low. It's shrinking at a rate of 12.9% per decade. This loss disrupts ecosystems and indigenous communities. Polar bears, for example, struggle to find food. Glaciers are melting at an alarming rate. In the Andes, glaciers could threaten water for 90 million people. As ice melts, it reduces Earth's ability to reflect sunlight. This creates a feedback loop, speeding up warming. Oceans are absorbing 90% of the extra heat. This causes acidification, harming coral reefs and marine life. The Great Barrier Reef saw its worst summer on record in 2024. Coral bleaching events are now a global crisis. Climate change also affects food security. In 2020, 98 million more people faced hunger. That's compared to the 1981 to 2010 average. Droughts and floods disrupt crops and livestock. In 2022, East Africa faced its worst drought in 40 years. Over 20 million people were at risk of starvation. Health risks are rising too. Heat waves now cause 70% more deaths among older adults. Vector-borne diseases like malaria are spreading. Warmer climates allow mosquitoes to thrive in new areas. Mental health is also taking a hit. Extreme weather causes anxiety and post-traumatic stress. Displacement from floods or storms worsens these effects. The World Health Organization estimates 250,000 extra deaths yearly. That's by the 2030s due to climate-related diseases. But it's not just humans suffering. Biodiversity is under threat. Changing climates force species to adapt or move. Many native plants in the US can't keep up. Some face extinction without human help. Mangroves, which store massive amounts of carbon, are at risk. A single square mile of mangroves holds carbon equal to 90,000 cars' emissions. If destroyed, that carbon gets released. Protecting ecosystems like mangroves is critical. They also shield coasts from storms and rising seas. Mangroves save billions in flood protection each year, yet only 3% of climate funding goes to nature-based solutions. Deforestation adds to the problem. It accounts for 20% of global greenhouse gas emissions. That's more than all passenger vehicles combined. Tropical forests could offset a third of needed emissions cuts, but they're being cleared faster than they can regrow. So, what's being done to fight climate change? The Paris Agreement, signed in 2015, is a key effort. 195 countries pledged to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. That's a long-term average, not a single year. Why 1.5 degrees? At 2 degrees, impacts get much worse. Hot days could be 4 degrees warmer, not 3. Sea levels might rise an extra 10 centimeters. That could flood millions more homes. Hundreds of millions could face poverty by 2050. We're not on track to hit 1.5 degrees. Current pledges put us closer to 2.7 degrees. That's why urgent action is needed. Renewable energy is growing fast. In 2024, clean energy set new records. Solar, wind, and hydropower are expanding, but coal and gas use also rose. We need to phase out fossil fuels faster. Some countries are leading the way. Denmark gets over half its power from wind and solar. Costa Rica runs almost entirely on renewables. But globally, we're still too slow. Carbon capture technology is another hope. In 2024, the world's largest carbon vacuum opened. It sucks CO2 from the air to store underground. But it's expensive and not yet scalable. Reforestation is a cheaper, natural solution. Planting trees can absorb carbon and create jobs. Restoring forests could generate 20 million new jobs. That's more than oil and gas per dollar spent. Grassroots efforts are making a difference too. In Kenya, youth are teaching farmers agroforestry. This boosts crops and sequesters carbon. Businesses are stepping up as well. Walmart's Project Gigaton aims to cut 1 gigaton of emissions. That's by working with suppliers by 2030. But not everyone agrees on the solutions. Some push for nuclear energy as a clean option. Others argue it's too risky and slow. Offshore wind farms face delays from inflation and politics. Yet they're bouncing back in some regions. Disinformation is a growing challenge. False claims can delay climate action. The UN is working to combat this with better research. Individuals can make a difference too. Cutting energy use at home helps. Switching to LED lights saves electricity. Eating less meat reduces emissions. Livestock produce methane, a potent greenhouse gas. Using public transport or biking cuts your carbon footprint. Even small changes add up. But systemic change is critical. Governments must enforce stronger policies. Subsidies for renewables need to grow. Fossil fuel subsidies must end. Carbon taxes can push companies to go green, but they need to be fair to low-income households. Developing nations need support. They emit less but suffer most. Richer countries pledge billions to help, but delivery has been slow. 3.6 billion people live in vulnerable areas. They face floods, droughts, and storms. Fairness is a big issue. Poorer nations caused less than 10% of emissions, yet they bear the worst impact. This is called climate injustice. Adaptation is as important as cutting emissions. Cities are building flood defenses. Farmers are switching to drought-resistant crops. But adaptation costs billions. Many communities can't afford it. Climate models are getting better. They predict hotter summers and wetter winters. But predicting exact impacts is tough. Clouds, for example, can amplify or reduce warming. Scientists are still studying this. Satellites give us a clearer picture. NASA 20-plus satellites track ice, oceans, and forests. This data helps us plan and adapt. But science alone isn't enough. We need global cooperation. The UN's climate talks push for unity. But politics often slow progress. Some leaders prioritize short-term gains. Others face pressure to act fast. Youth activists are driving change. They demand accountability from governments. Their voices are shaping policy. But time is running out. Tipping points loom, like Greenland's ice sheet collapsing. These could lock in irreversible changes. We have 8 years to cut emissions by 55%. That's to stay below 1.5 degrees. It's a tough goal, but not impossible. Innovation is accelerating. Electric vehicles are now cheaper to run. Battery storage for renewables is improving. Green hydrogen could power heavy industry. These give us hope. But hope isn't enough. We need action now. Every fraction of a degree matters. It's about our planet's future. It's about our children's future. We can still change course, but it starts with all of us. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Let's keep learning and acting together.